500 years ago, Spanish soldiers marched into the Andes and found something they couldn't explain. Farmers growing food on cliffs so steep, a goat would struggle to stand on them. But the strange part isn't how they did it up there. It's that a group of Amish families in Ohio secretly rebuilt the same trick, right in their backyards, and it's pulling far more food out of the ground than a normal garden ever could, from a space no bigger than 4 square feet. Here's what nobody tells you about growing potatoes. The way most of us were taught, dig a trench, drop them in, cover them, wait, is not actually how this plant wants to grow. It's just the easiest way to grow them in rows, at scale, for supermarkets. Long before supermarkets existed, farmers in the Andes noticed something strange. Wherever soil piled up naturally around a growing potato stem, on a slope, in a landslide, in loose volcanic ash, more potatoes appeared underground. Not bigger potatoes. More of them, stacked at different depths. That single observation, made centuries before anyone understood plant biology, is the exact same principle a handful of Amish communities in Ohio and Pennsylvania quietly kept alive, long after the rest of the world moved to flat, easy rows. And when I first saw it done, not read about it, saw it tipped over in front of me at a farm in Holmes County, Ohio, I understood why almost nobody talks about this anymore. Because this isn't a gardening tip. It's a workaround. Amish households often feed 10-12 people from their own land with no supermarket safety net. When you can't afford to waste a single square foot of soil, you stop asking, how do I grow potatoes? You start asking, how many layers of potatoes can I force one plant to make? And the answer to that question is buried in something most modern gardening books never mention. A part of the plant most of us don't even know we're supposed to pay attention to. It's not the leaves, it's not the roots. It's a structure most gardeners bury without ever knowing what it actually does. And understanding it is the difference between 40 pounds of potatoes and 100 pounds from the exact same 4 square feet of ground. It's called a stolon, and here's the part almost nobody explains correctly. A potato plant doesn't grow one batch of potatoes and stop. Underground, hidden along the buried part of the stem, it keeps producing small side shoots called stolons, and the tip of every stolon has the ability to swell into a brand new potato. So when Andean farmers buried more stem, and when Amish growers later did the exact same thing in a tower, they weren't planting more potatoes. They were tricking one single plant into building itself upward, floor by floor, like a plant that doesn't know when to stop. But here's the catch almost every viral gardening post conveniently leaves out. This doesn't work with every potato. Some varieties are called determinate. Genetically, they're programmed to stop making stolons early, no matter how much soil you pile on top. Bury them higher, and instead of new potatoes, you just get more roots. The Amish families who kept this method alive for generations weren't just burying stems randomly. They were choosing specific varieties, the ones that keep producing stolons for months, almost like the plant refuses to stop growing. Two of the most common choices are Kennebec and Russet Burbank, both indeterminate, both sold at almost any garden center, and neither one requiring anything exotic to get started. Which raises the obvious question. If this method has been sitting in plain sight for hundreds of years, quietly working in Amish gardens while the rest of the world moved to flat rows and store-bought fertilizer, why did it disappear everywhere else? The answer isn't really about potatoes at all. It's about what happened to farming in America after the Second World War. After the war, the US government pushed farmers hard toward one goal: uniform food, produced fast, shipped far. New chemical fertilizers were cheap, tractors were everywhere, and flat, wide rows were simply faster to plant, spray, and harvest by machine than anything vertical. Vertical growing, layered growing, the kind that needs manual hilling every few weeks, didn't fit that model. It wasn't that the tower method stopped working. It just stopped being profitable at scale. Modern agriculture optimized for speed and shelf life. Amish communities never had that pressure. Off the grid, without large machinery, they simply kept doing what already worked. And that difference between farming for a warehouse and farming for a family is the reason this technique survived in one place and vanished almost everywhere else. But knowing why it survived is only half the story. The real surprise is what happens when you try to build one of these towers yourself, using nothing but a few dollars of scrap material sitting in most backyards already. Here's what surprised me most. There's no official design. Ask 5 different Amish families how they build one of these, and you'll get 5 slightly different answers. Some use wire mesh, some use old wooden pallets, some just use a ring of loose straw bales stacked on top of each other. The material was never the point. What matters is one single habit, repeated all season. Every time the plant grows about 6 to 8 inches taller, you bury it again, right up to the top leaves. Not the whole plant, just enough to force those hidden nodes underground to keep doing what they already know how to do. And this is the part that feels wrong the first time you do it. Every instinct tells you that burying a growing plant should hurt it, maybe even kill it. But potatoes are one of the rare plants where burying the stem isn't damage. It's an invitation. You're not smothering the plant. You're giving it more real estate to keep building. By the end of a single season, some of these towers, built from nothing more than scrap wire and straw, have produced potatoes from 6 or 7 separate underground layers, all from one seed potato. All from one plant that was simply never told to stop. But maybe the most interesting part of this story isn't the potatoes at all. It's the question it leaves you with. If a trick this simple, this cheap, and this effective could sit forgotten for 70 years right under everyone's nose, you have to wonder what else got quietly left behind the same way. Not lost, not destroyed, just inconvenient for anyone who wasn't desperate enough to need it. And maybe that's the real reason this story starts in the Andes 500 years ago. Because the farmers on those cliffs never had a name for what they were doing. No word for stolen, no diagram, no science. They just noticed that soil piling up around a stem meant more food at the end of the season, and they repeated it generation after generation until it became instinct instead of a technique. The Amish families doing the exact same thing in Ohio today aren't reviving an ancient method because they read about it somewhere. They're doing it because somewhere along the way, someone in their family simply never stopped. And the part that makes this worth trying yourself isn't complicated either. No greenhouse, no special soil, no equipment beyond a few dollars of wire or wood already sitting in most garages. Just one afternoon, and the same habit repeated every couple of weeks until harvest. So the next time someone tells you a 4-square-foot garden isn't enough space to grow real food, remember there's a community less than a day's drive from most major US cities, quietly pulling 100 pounds of potatoes out of that same 4 square feet, using a trick the Andes discovered before anyone even wrote the word biology. If your family ever kept a method like this one, something nobody else in your area still does, that's exactly the kind of thing worth telling us in the comments.